Hey y'all, it's your girl Queen Chill Mode, and I'm the host of the Perimeter Defense Basketball Podcast, where we talk all things basketball from the WNBA to the NBA to college basketball for both the ladies and the fellas, and of course, my favorite basketball team, the Chicago Bulls. And in today's episode of the Perimeter Defense Basketball Podcast, we'll continue our draft fit for the Bulls series as we spotlight NBA draft prospect Carter Bryant. Bryant is a promising prospect with a high floor due in part to his defensive versatility and shooting abilities. He's an athletic 3-and-D prospect with upside, a modern-day NBA-type wing, and his measurements out of the NBA Draft Combine are as follows. He's 6'6" tall in height, 214 pounds, with a 6'11.75" wingspan. The forward out of Arizona had a very solid freshman year. However, his playing time was limited due in part to the fact that he was a part of a veteran-laden Arizona Wildcats college basketball team. He was, however, able to still manage to average 6 points, 4 rebounds, 1 assist per game, along with 1 block on 46% shooting from the field, 37% shooting from three-point range, and 69% shooting from the free throw line. Now let's get to know Carter Bryant a little better by taking a look at some of the strengths of his game. One of the strengths of his game is he's a versatile defender whose strength, size, and quickness allow him to guard multiple positions. He has the potential to be a combo forward who could become a weak side rim protector due in part to his long wingspan and his timing. He effectively defends driving wings using physicality to force their baseline, and he applies great pressure on the perimeter by making plays on the ball, and he also does a solid job of contesting on the ball defense. Now, he plays the passing lanes extremely well and does a good job of reading the floor as well as securing loose balls. And one of the main strengths of his game also would consist of his transition game. He's an excellent runner in transition. He finishes plays and makes intelligent passes while in transition. He does a phenomenal job of finishing above the rim, and he does that with so much ease. And all the while showcasing his explosiveness and athleticism. Now, another area of Carter Bryant's game that is considered to be a strength would be that of his shooting. He's a solid three-point shooter, shooting 37% from the field. He has solid, fluid mechanics with a high release point. He moves smoothly into his catch-and-shoot three-point attempts, and he's considered to be a spot-up shooter would be his style of shooting if you had to ask. Now, another area that he does a phenomenal job at as well would be off-ball scoring, as he's an effective cutter and finisher near the rim. He makes smart baseline cuts, and rebounding would be another area of his game that many people consider to be a strength as well, as he's a solid rebounder for a wing, and he contributes to rebounding on both offensive and defensive rebounds. Now, of course, with any player that has a great deal of strength, there's gonna be some areas in which development is still needed, and one of those areas would be his shot creation. He must improve his ability to create his own shot. He has a tendency to force the action when trying to create off the dribble, and he can get very loose with the ball while in traffic. And he also has a penchant of making risky passes, which could also result in turnovers. Now, another area of Carter Bryant's game that also could stand to improve would be his ability to become a more consistent scorer. He can sometimes disappear for long stretches offensively. He doesn't always play with the necessary focus and intensity needed to be a consistent scorer, and his shot selection and decision making must also improve on that end of the court. Also, he's a guy who relies upon his athleticism and explosiveness when it comes to getting rebounds, but at the next level, he'll also need to get more physical and when he's attempting to get on the boards, primarily because he's not going to always be able to out-jump other people, so him adding a little bit more physicality to his game would only help him as it pertains to helping his team on the offense as well as defensive boards. Now, he's also a great defensive player with great defensive upside, but there are some areas even on the defensive end of his game that could also stand to improve. Case in point, he's prone to overcommitting on closeouts. He sometimes gives up too much space on closeouts, and he struggles to contest shots effectively. Now, he does have okay recovery speed, but it's not great. Case in point, as I get into my next point, he can sometimes be late rotating to help, resulting into open shots for the opponent simply because he's okay when it comes to recovery speed, but not great. But also with that, he has a little stiffness to his lateral movement. Which can also become an issue when he's attempting to contain dribble penetration. Now his role in the NBA projects out as a 3 and D player, and some of the players that he has been compared to over this pre-draft season have been players such as Trey Murphy III, primarily because of their defensive versatility and shooting. Also, Kelly Oubre is a player that comes to mind in some scouts' eyes because of their similarities in their athletic profiles and scoring potential. And Jeff Green is also another player that he's been compared a great deal to, primarily because they both can contribute without demanding the ball on offense while taking care of business on defense. Other players that a lot of folks say that Carter Bryant puts them in the mind of would be Marcus Morris and Trevor Ariza. Carter Bryant's fit with the Chicago Bulls would be that of a complementary player. He's a wing with a strong D and 3 profile, which aligns with the Bulls' needs as it relates to perimeter shooting and defense. Two attributes that are very attractive to the Bulls, given their desire for a player who can complement their existing core. Transition play would also fit well with the Bulls, as he's one of the best transition players in this year's draft, and the Chicago Bulls are looking for a more fast-paced style of offense, and his transition play would fit in like a hand to a glove. There's also potential for him to grow into his role with the Chicago Bulls. There's potential that he could develop into a high-level starter, and his shooting mechanics are promising. His defensive versatility would also align with what Chicago actually is in need of. He can guard multiple positions on the perimeter, which would be a great asset to a team looking to improve defensive versatility and overall perimeter defense. Now, factors to consider about drafting Carter Bryant is that he is a raw prospect, and there's always a risk involved with drafting a player with limited college experience. But overall, Carter Bryant is a high upside prospect with a combination of athleticism, shooting, defensive versatility, and potential. He's a good candidate to be drafted by the Bulls based on team needs, and that he could be developed into a valuable two-way player in the floor spacer.